Welcome to Boracay, or rather, welcome back to the country's most popular beach destination, which only reopened recently in October after so many months of being cut off to tourists. In this two-part series on Boracay, we'll show you our preferred way to travel safely and worry-free to the island without compromising comfort and luxury. We'll fly with the world's best private aircraft and stay at two of Boracay's most secluded and expansive resorts. Plus, we'll see how the rest of the island is adjusting to the new normal with strict health protocols that help keep visitors safe and Boracay COVID-free. So join us for the new normal in Boracay. I'm David Celdran. This is Executive Class. Boracay. Just saying it brings back many wonderful memories in one of the world's most breathtaking beaches and some of the Philippines' most beautiful resorts. Not too long ago, a Boracay holiday could be made spur of the moment, but COVID has ruined any spontaneous trip to the island, with few flights available and more restrictions on tourist arrivals. I've been doing a lot of flying for executive class in the past 15 years, perhaps too much flying, and that's why it's hard to believe that this is the first time I'm traveling in almost a year because of the pandemic. That's almost a year, but if anything, it helps you appreciate travel so much more, because when you travel too much, you often take that privilege for granted. Well, this is going to be really exciting. It's like flying for the first time. Private terminal of AirTaxi at the Asian Aerospace hangar in Naiya is a familiar place to me. It's where I've taken off for Boracay countless times before. But like airports everywhere today, quite a bit has changed, with all sorts of new steps to keep passengers safe. Okay, I guess I'm here. Hey Paige, good to see you.
Welcome back, David. Long time no see.
Hi Vicky, it's been a while.
AirTaxi's executive vice president has become my travel buddy of sorts, with countless adventures shared together on his company's fleet of planes and choppers. It's our first flight together since the pandemic, and all their new protocols are making me feel safer.
We've always been proud that flying private, you can avoid any health risks, and even from the slightest cold to a very severe fever, flying private helps you mitigate that risk because you get to choose the people you're with. And of course, the technology inside the planes, they have this thing called the fresh air system, especially for the Gulf Streams, which flushes out air every few minutes. It ensures you have a constant breeze of fresh air every time.
And of course, even before flying inside the aircraft, I feel a lot more safer just being in a private hangar and being in a private lounge, right?
Correct. Because when you're in our private terminal, you have only maybe your set of people or maybe another set of passengers in a separate lounge. We have 5 different lounges in this terminal. So everyone has their own private space.
It also helps to know that all those spaces are thoroughly disinfected, including the planes, both before and after every flight. AirTaxi takes all government regulations seriously and will even arrange your COVID testing and file your travel documents as an added convenience.
The great thing about traveling together to Boracay, Paige, is that we both know that we had our RT-PCR and we got our negative results and isolated after. And that helps, right? Traveling the same aircraft with people who you know you can vouch for.
Correct. It's a very, very comfortable thing to be able to fly with somebody you know, and then with the confidence to remove your mask, but don't remove your mask if you're not comfortable with it.
Commercial airlines, of course, comply with existing health protocols as well, but you can't choose with whom and with how many you fly with. Flying private also cuts the waiting time spent in the terminal or lining up for boarding, which increase the risk of infection.
This is really exciting. I must say it's great to fly again, especially if it's a Gulfstream jet. This is the creme de la creme, the gold standard of private jets. Hello. Okay, one more safety check. And we're ready to fly.
The G150 can take up to 8 passengers comfortably, and still with enough space to avoid close contact with each other, if ever that scares you. But because all passengers are required to show a negative RT-PCR test result before boarding, why worry? And since the aircraft is private, masks are optional.
Wow, we're finally up in the air, and this brings back so many good memories of previous travels. Well, except for wearing a mask, of course. But here's a fact that should make you feel less paranoid about flying, especially in the Gulfstream. You see, Gulfstream has a unique fresh air system that pumps out air inside a cabin about every 2 minutes. That apart from a state-of-the-art filtration system. So nothing to worry about.
When flying, catching a virus isn't the only risk. So is the weather. Gulfstreams have the best safety record, plus the aircraft design and its ability to climb higher than others assure you of a smoother flight.
Wow. It's a bit too early for drinking, but since it's my first flight in almost a year, I guess it's time to celebrate, right?
Sure.
Thank you. I'll just have a bit.
It's much faster to get to Boracay these days, with less traffic in the air and on the runway. We made it from boarding to disembarking in just about 45 minutes.
Yes, it's great to be back here in Boracay. This is usually the start of the peak season in Boracay, but as you can see, it's empty, it's quiet. And that's because a lot of people still have this wait-and-see attitude towards coming back to the island. And that's why we've also come here to show you whether it's safe and hassle-free to return.
This terminal used to be crawling with people, but now the airport personnel and health officers outnumber passengers. Tight screening upon arrival is also new here. They won't let you through without your pre-approved clearance issued by the Aklan provincial government.
Thank you. Wow, this QR code is really cool. This is your access to the island. So make sure you have it on your phone or print it out on paper. This is your passport to Boracay.
To get it, you need to apply beforehand by showing proof of your flight booking, hotel reservation, and most important, a negative test result for COVID-19. From here on, you'll find sanitation facilities and safety reminders every step of the way. And again, a request for your digital passport. Your QR code also verifies you're a hotel guest and gets you to your resort faster. But before getting there, you'll need to hurdle a few more screening procedures.
So what's happening here is it's a question and answer of sorts. Just make sure you're the same person in the QR code that appears in person.
Rather than be annoyed by all the screening, just remember that this is why Boracay has managed to be COVID-free so far.
Thank you. Okay, we're one step closer to the Shangri-La Resort, and here at the Mabuhay Lounge, it's a taste of things to come. And that means, in the new normal, an emphasis on health and safety and social distancing.
To increase monitoring, all the passenger lounges away from the terminal have been closed, except for the Shangri-Las, which is right on the jetty. All other visitors need to wait and queue for their ride at the port.
It's good to see that they're strictly practicing social distancing even in the public boats. But if that still feels a bit too public for you, then follow me, because at the Shangri-La, you get your own private boat to the resort.
A seacraft all to yourself or your group is one of the advantages of staying at the Shang during the pandemic. More so since their speedboat takes you straight to the resort without any land transfers in between.
This is really cool. This is not just my first time to fly in almost a year. It's also my first time to see the beach.
Even more startling is a view of the island from the sea, the iconic stretch of white sand, without people at midday. No doubt, a reminder that Boracay is only beginning to reopen to tourists. When we return after the break, our first time under the sun and on the sand in Boracay in over a year. See how the island's top resorts are welcoming guests back under very different circumstances. Welcome back to our series on Boracay, covering our first visit since the island reopened after several months under lockdown in 2020. We're returning in the safest and most socially distanced way you can imagine, via private aircraft to Caticlan Airport and a private boat ride that takes us straight to one of the most secluded beachfronts and luxury properties on the island, the Shangri-La Resort and Spa Boracay.
Hey Dave, it's good to be back.
Welcome back.
Hello.
Welcome back. How are
This
you?
is the perfect way to greet each other now. No shaking hands.
It's good to have you back.
Thank you. It's great to be back. Can't wait to see what's changed or what remains the same.
Unlike with previous visits, close contact and extended greetings with the GM and staff are no longer encouraged, and guests are quickly whisked in empty buggies straight to their quarters, though I couldn't help requesting for the scenic stop along the way.
All right, stop here. Stop. Wow. I just want to savor this view. This is the Boracay I remember. In fact, this is the Shangri-La I remember.
Happy to say, apart from the strictly enforced mask and distancing rules, it's still the lovely, sprawling property I always look forward to.
So I understand there's a new check-in procedure because of the social distancing policy, and that means you can only bring the guests to their doorstep and the guests are on their own.
I admit, I miss the more intimate welcome routine, the sweet voices unmuffled by masks and shields, and the personal tour around the room. But remember, you're not just protecting yourself here, but the staff too.
Okay, and all the check-in is done outdoors. And in the case of a villa, it's done at the terrace or at the balcony. The idea again is that you want to avoid being in interiors. You want to be outdoors and with ventilation.
After a few more safety checks and health declarations through QR code, you're on your own to explore your room. It's all contactless from here. A detailed video describes all the things that Shangri-La has done to keep your room clean and you safe during your stay here. And instead of a butler shadowing your every move, the resort's digital concierge app, Saba, works 24/7 for you.
Another QR code. A lot of these QR codes. And you can do everything here. Order food, request for amenities, schedule a therapy. It's all done electronically now.
It's a small price to pay to enjoy a holiday in paradise without worrying. And the tedious checks are quickly forgotten when faced with scenery like this.
Okay, with the check-in process done, I can finally remove my mask. I didn't realize how strict the Shangri-La would be with masks and face shields, but finally I can smell the Boracay air and enjoy this view. What a beautiful view. What a perfect location this Villa Canluran is.
Perched on a cliff overlooking the beach, the villa is perfect for isolating in luxury. With its own wading pool, garden, terrace, and extra spacious living and bedrooms that bring in the sun and the sea breeze. You could enjoy island life in your villa without ever leaving.
This is perfect. After spending so much time indoors because of the pandemic, it feels so great to enjoy the outdoors, especially facing a view like this one of the beach.
But with a vast expanse of lush gardens, forested slopes, swimming pools, shaded terraces, and 2 white sand beaches, plus buggies on demand to take you anywhere within the property, I'm wasting no time in rediscovering what's new since reopening.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Frankly, I was expecting a lot more changes to the property, adjustments to the pandemic, but they're really hard to notice unless you look very closely, except of course for more of these around the property and more of these face masks and face shields, which are required in public areas. A lot of the other changes are more subtle and less obtrusive. Of course, you still have the traditional concierge, guest services, checkout, but now you also have the option to do everything contactless through digital apps. Checking out, for example, is as easy as just leaving your card here.
Well, I think by keeping the distance, we're actually showing our guests that there's a deep care and a deep belonging because we want to protect them and we protect our teams. We have certain measures in place, reviewed all the seating arrangements in the restaurants, for example, reviewed the layout of the health and fitness club to ensure that there is enough distance between our guests, between everybody. At the same time, we have some acrylic boards in the front desks, sanitizing mats, temperature checks. We encourage people to use online technologies with QR-coded menus. We got contactless check-in that you can do now. You can do online check-in as well.
But of course, there's always the option to do the old way.
Yes, absolutely. And we encourage our guests to try them out. But at the same time, we also fully realize that as hoteliers, we have that human connection that's why we became hoteliers, because that's what we like, and we want to make sure that remains as well. And I think that's very important in the hospitality industry, to make sure that human connection doesn't get lost.
Other than checking in, mealtime is one of those other experiences that was redesigned carefully. The resort's famously sprawling buffet has been replaced by a la carte meals. And for now, the only outdoor dining option open to guests is a poolside shallow restaurant, where a digital app augments the traditional menu and service.
The reason why these health protocols are rather unobtrusive at the resort is because a lot of it is now digital, contactless. Example, ordering your lunch. I just have to scan the QR code over here, the menu comes out, I pick what I'm ordering, that goes into the kitchen system, and the lunch comes to you. It's that simple, without having to have any contact with the staff. No, thank you.
And once you're confident about your safety, that's the moment you stop being overly cautious and begin to truly enjoy your stay here. Soon enough, you adjust without realizing it. And your mind and body start to drift to pleasant memories of the Shangri-La Resort and of Boracay before the pandemic changed everything.
I never realized the feeling of seawater on your toes would feel this good. It feels so good. And after being cooped up at home for so long because of the pandemic, this is like liberation. This is freedom. This is paradise.
In the past, even when fully booked, the resort never felt crowded because of all the space within. But with travel restrictions keeping guests to a minimum, I don't recall seeing the beach at sunset this empty and peaceful.
This is my favorite time of day, and this cocktail only makes it better. It gets really quiet after sunset. That's why it's also one of the best times to get a massage. I know what you're thinking, a massage in a time of COVID, doesn't that sound dangerous? Well, apparently the world-famous cheese spa of the Shangri-La has found a safe way of doing it. Let's find out how.
I like to say that no visit to the Shangri-La Boracay is complete without a massage at the award-winning cheese spa. Lucky for me, the local government allowed spas on the island to reopen, although with very strict restrictions.
Well, the first thing is the cheese spa is only open on request. That's the first way to make it safe for the guests.
Therapies have been shortened to an hour, and those too close for comfort, like facials, have been dropped entirely.
After filling out, yet another health declaration form, you're required to take a shower. Remember, you're not just protecting yourself, you're protecting the therapist as well.
The therapists aren't just tested frequently, but because they're exclusive to the cheese spa, they're monitored properly. Just to be safe, guests are required to wear masks and lie face down throughout the session. It's not what I'm used to, but I can't complain.
It's not just flying I miss or traveling that I miss, but also a proper massage. I haven't had one in 8 months.
While I was out having my massage, executive sous chef Alain Rion and his team were busy transforming the poolside terrace of my villa into a private dining dream.
Well, I'm really hungry. Thank you. Okay. Grilled prawn. Fantastic. Yes, one of the popular dining options here at the resort is their unique private dining experience, which, as the name implies, means you can have your dinner at the beach or at the garden, or in my case, in my villa. Now, in a time like this where people are more conscious about health and safety and distance, this has become such a valuable option. And the food's great too.
On-site cooking is always a good thing. Dishes a la minute means enjoying each one prepared tableside by the chef himself. A sumptuous fresh grilled multi-course meal that starts with prawns, then a chicken salad, and finally filet mignon for the main dish. And thanks to filming all day, there's still room in my tummy for dessert. With occupancy rates managed carefully and distancing policies in place, nighttime at the resort is exceptionally quiet these days. A stark contrast to our last memories at the Shangri-La last year, with fancy wine dinners on the grounds and lively beach parties on the shore. For a taste of the island's legendary nightlife, we're trying our luck in Station 2 instead, where some bars and restaurants have started to reopen.
I guess I can remove this since I don't see a soul in sight, which is hard to believe because it's 8:30 at night on a Friday night, that is, and we're here in Station 2 of Boracay, also known as Party Central. Frankly, it feels more like a ghost town. So let's check on how some of the resorts and establishments are doing and coping.
It's a bit eerie, really. All these popular joints, either empty or closed entirely. While most establishments still wait to see if more tourists will arrive for the holidays before reopening, a few have remained open ever since.
Ah, finally, a well-lit establishment. And one of my favorites in this part of the island, it's coast. And it's like an oasis amidst all these darkness. Randy, it's good to see you again. Gosh.
Coast's GM recalls the months under quarantine, serving only the few guests who were stranded. Occupancy is starting to pick up, but still slow. However, with little else open at night, their outdoor restaurant and bar is doing better than expected.
Describe the nightlife right now. If I were to come here, plan a trip to Boracay, and I'm looking for the usual nightlife, let's do a reality check.
Yeah.
What should they expect?
Well, definitely it's not the same. This is a different face of Boracay now. But there's pros and
It was
cons.
already happening last year because of the new restrictions, right?
yes,
on partying,
yes.
on the island, on the beach. But now it's even more
Yes.
restrictive.
But this time it's totally different. Well, first and foremost, there's a curfew already. So by 11 p.m.
Unthinkable for Boracay,
yes,
right?
definitely. And it's known for a party island, right? But it's slowly changing its face, so it's more family-oriented. But going back to the nightlife, there is still people a little bit of drinking during sunset. And then going dinner. And come 9 o'clock, they go back to their hotels and sleep. The island is now peaceful.
In a way, the pandemic has helped achieve the original objective of the first closure of Boracay in 2018, to allow the island more time to heal from decades of abuse, reorient tourism towards a healthier and more sustainable future. In the second part of our Boracay series next week, we check how other luxury properties are adjusting to the new normal and see how the world-famous White Beach has returned to a state of calm and purity unseen since the 1980s.
And that's all for this episode of Executive Class. In Boracay, I'm David Saltran. Thanks for watching.